All right, back at American Legion Post 580, Lieutenant Colonel John Pippy, as we are celebrating the Memorial Day weekend. And remember, Monday night with me, KDK Radio, Tony Accomando, Friends of Da Nang, life-changing service dogs for veterans, and Bob Dvorak, award-winning journalist. And remember also the great work of Shell Oil here in Monaca, and Dylan Raymond, a veteran, and Jack Wagner. Pittsburgh hires vets, Vietnam veteran, a member of the Marine Corps, what they're doing along with the Community College of Beaver County to hire veterans. Now, if you remember the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, I think you'll understand exactly what I'm about to talk about as we continue to look at some of the world's epic battles as we salute this very special weekend. The Normandy landings, operations on Tuesday, June 6, 1944. 6th hour, 6th day, 6th month. The Allied invasion of Normandy and Operation Overlord during World War II, codename Operation Neptune and often referred to as D-Day. It was the largest operation seaborne invasion in history. The operation began the liberation of Germany-occupied northwestern Europe from the Nazi control and laid the foundation of the Allied victory on the Western Front. Planning began in 1943. In the months leading up to the invasion, the Allies conducted a substantial military deception codenamed Operation Bodyguard to mislead the Germans as to the date and location. The amphibious landings were preceded by the extensive aerial and naval bombardment and airborne assault, the landing of 24,000 American, British, and Canadian airborne troops shortly after midnight. Allied infantry and armored divisions began landing on the coast of France at 6:30 a.m. The target 50-mile stretch of the Normandy coast, the beaches, Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Sword. Strong winds made it a very monumental effort. The Allies failed to achieve their goals on the first day. Finally, all 5 beachheads were connected on June 12, 1944, which the Allies gradually expanded over the coming months. German casualties estimated 4,000 and 9,000 men. Allied casualties were at least 10,000, with 4,414 confirmed dead. Lieutenant Colonel.
Yep, D-Day, Normandy, the beginning, the end for Hitler. We had already talked about how they had lost on the Eastern Front. This was our push on the Western Front. And the deception plan was very critical because prior to that, the amphibious attack on a fortified beachhead with cliffs was not very successful in the past. And so the deception plan was critical because we did not want the Germans to be able to mass all their forces. Even with that, we had those devastating casualties. Band of Brothers, one of the most powerful movies I've ever seen. And very realistic, talks about all the challenges associated with that. What's critical on this too is that this was a joint, British, Allied, U.S. General Eisenhower's commander-in-chief. It really brought everyone together, and just very, very powerful moments.
Some of the other leaders of World War II, quickly, because you brought up Dwight David Eisenhower, who would go on to become the President of the United States, also General Montgomery, who guided the British Army, but also Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister. And if you've seen various movies, autobiographies about him, he really didn't want this to happen because of memories of World War I and how many believed his command, thousands went to their death on a beachfront. But he finally decided to get in because of the greater good. But I think it just goes to prove, no matter who you are, if you have been a member of any military siege in any war at any time in the world's history, it's hard to forget.
General MacArthur said it best: "The soldier above all prays for peace because he has seen the tragedies and horrors of war." So you're right, it impacts you.
MacArthur, Patton, and we're going to finish on the 28th Division in our next video as we salute Memorial Day. But tell me about some of the other significant graduates, and also talk a little bit about West Point in the final minute in this segment. But you have to think of MacArthur, and you have to think of Patton, and you have to think of us.
Yeah, I mean, you think MacArthur, Patton, Eisenhower, Schwarzkopf,
Pershing.
I mean, it really, West Point was created after a Revolutionary War to develop. We needed to have cadre of engineer officers, coincidentally, our own professional military school to grow our Continental Army and our capabilities. And so over the years, that they like to talk about how the history they teach has been made by the graduates they taught. And that's a very powerful statement for a military academy, the oldest one. But a key part of that is the service side. And we talked about that last night on the show, how wonderful it is that you have people from everywhere in the country. Every congressional district gets nominations. So West Point, unlike any other military academies, has someone who's from Mississippi to New York to California to Nevada to Kansas. And by doing that, you really are a reflection reflection of our country, and I think it made us great.
Up next, his division, the 28th Division. You're going to be seeing these videos, and hopefully you've been enjoying them over the last couple of days, right through the holiday. But please never forget, the idea behind Memorial Day is to pay tribute to our veterans across this great country. Good afternoon from the American Legion Post 580 in Monaco.